this is Srimati, the Inner Wisdom Coach, and I'm here at the Arcturus Clinic in Totnes with Bill Tucker, who is a very skilled German New Medicine, EFT and other things therapist and practitioner. And we're here to discuss a topic that a client asked, or a friend asked, and she was interested to know what our how we would answer this question. And the question is, how do you deal, maybe I can ask this of you first,
yeah,
Bill.
sure.
How do you deal with what she called the fearful mind? How do we soothe the fearful mind when we're in that grip of the fearful mind, in the middle of what she called a healing crisis?
Okay. Can I come from a German New Medicine perspective?
Yes, by all means, yes, yes.
When I'm coming from a German New Medicine perspective, I'll just very briefly explain this. So, so if a person's in a healing crisis, then they're in a certain phase of this healing. So there's a conflict, there's a situation that happened in a negative, unexpected way.
Mm-hmm.
The body goes into stress.
Mm-hmm.
In some way they may resolve that. Say for instance you had a row with your partner walked out and said, that's it, it's over.
Yes.
Threw the ring back at you, threw the keys back at you, and I said, that's it, I'm done. Pack the case, car, off they go, gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Big unexpected shock.
Yes, yes.
Now one person might think, yes! Can't believe I got involved with them.
Uh-huh.
Someone else might be absolutely devastated.
Yes, yeah.
Childhood sweetheart. Someone else might be thinking more practical.
Yeah.
How am I going to pay the mortgage?
Yes, yes.
How am I going to feed the kids?
So it's a massive change, whatever, really.
Massive, unexpected shock.
Yeah.
So how that person perceived that matters not at the moment. So they go into stress. You know, it's like the body getting up to move quicker. A few days later, that person walks back through the door. The two thumbs joined as a resolution.
Right.
Back together again.
Okay.
So then the body goes, now it has to deal with what happened back here.
I see.
So it has to let it go in some way. And it might come out as physical symptoms, it might come out of, say if it was a man back here and he saw it as a territory conflict, or even a woman, then when that's resolved, the result of a territory conflict, a short-term one, might be a cold or a flu or something.
Yep.
So they get into the healing.
Yes.
Now, in the middle of the healing phase, there's a healing crisis.
I see.
Which would be the fever.
Sort of peak of the illness,
The
as
worst,
it were.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So this is where the peak of the symptoms are. So then it goes out the other side to be finally back to normality again. Now, obviously that's a really short, acute, simple one. But if people are recovering, and the process is the same with all illnesses and diseases, by the way, there's a stress phase and a healing phase. Usually, not always, but usually the symptoms are in the healing phase. So, like physical pain, symptoms as in runny nose and fevers and all these sort of things. So, say it's a serious illness, and we're in the middle of this healing crisis. Now what happens is, the body goes back into that original conflict one more time.
Yeah.
And that includes emotionally, physically, mentally. And so at the peak of that healing crisis, the most important thing for me as a German New Medicine practitioner is helping people understand where they are along that process.
Of course, of course.
And obviously what caused it in the first place. And also, which for me is really important to help them understand, say for instance it's physical pain. Then physical pain again, there'd had to be some form of resolution to this original conflict to take them into the physical pain.
Yes.
The worst of the physical pain would be in the healing crisis. Now, the healing crisis is not just a blip, it might be, and it can be getting re-triggered all the time. But generally speaking, in physical pain, it would never last any more than 6 weeks. And if it's lasting any more than 6 weeks, it's been getting re-triggered.
Right.
Now, using something like EFT, for instance, I'll be helping the client tap on the acupuncture points, or they'd be tapping on their own acupuncture points, to clear up the intensity of the emotions around this original conflict.
Right.
And that will shorten this healing phase.
Yes.
Sometimes 2 minutes.
Gosh. Yeah.
So really, but that understanding of what caused it, what happened.
The perspective.
And also, yeah, totally. And the most important thing is to do some EFT or some other type of therapy or whatever, NLP
to
or
soothe
whatever.
the fearful mind.
100%.
Yes, which is obviously you're in fear when you're suffering, and yes, yeah.
And the only question I would ask people when I'm working with them is, how does that make you feel? That's all that's important. To work on the emotional feeling that's connected to, so say someone's in physical pain, we can tap away in physical pain. I'm really passionate about finding the root conflict in the first place.
Yes.
So it's almost like you can take away the physical pain really easily. But it's more important for me to find what was causing it.
Yeah.
Now say for instance the physical pain is there, it comes back or whatever, it's re-triggered again. The important thing is we can tap away in physical pain, the word physical pain, there's physical pain in my shoulder, there's physical pain or a colour or a shape or intensity. But for me it's more important, even when I'm working with pain, I very rarely mention the pain. I'm more interested in working on how they feel about the pain.
Content. Yes, yes.
Because it's the feelings, the emotions that are keeping it trapped, maybe the fear, the anxiety, all this sort of stuff. So helping people through that healing crisis, one, helping them understand what caused it in the first place, helping them understand what the resolution was, and where they are in this process, and how much time it would take to go through. Like for instance, there was a lady I've just been working with, she had massive, her whole face was swollen up, she had massive conjunctivitis, and just her whole skin was almost gone, you know, haywire. And in her words, she looked like the Elephant Man. You know, bless her, and she's a young 40-year-old lady who was a school teacher, so she's in front of everybody.
Gosh, yes.
So we're working on the conflicts. So, and she called me up a few times. And, you know, we did a few sessions together over a few weeks, and for me, she needed that reassurance. How long is this going to last?
Right.
And sometimes the symptoms get slightly worse before they get better. So that reassurance is really important to help her understand that in 6 weeks that'll be gone, pretty much. And understand the conflicts and the traumas, and we cleared up about 4 different conflicts that are related to the conjunctivitis, and so helping her understand that you go through this process and reassure her. But if I didn't know the German New Medicine information, I'd be guessing in the dark.
Right.
And hoping.
So that confidence and that reassurance, you can communicate that because you know exactly where it's come from, where it's going, and how it's going to finish.
Totally.
And I mean, that in itself is massively soothing to the fearful mind, isn't it?
Oh, awesome. And she called me up just we were at a last session. We're having another one next week. And we had a session last week, and she said, "Bill, I just can't thank you enough because I wouldn't get through this without you, without medication to suppress those symptoms." And that's, for me, that's understanding, you know, what we do, and understanding the whole process, and reassuring our clients and that we're actually heading in the right direction.
Yeah.